I know Don's here, so he's going to want to say something about Joao Felix.
Well, I love him, Dan, and I want to pick sort of Sid's brains, really, on what's happening with him. I mean, I know he signed a 7-year deal and he's got 5 years left, but when I watch the style of play that Simeone plays, and Thomas Lemar wasn't in the team last night, Joao Felix is playing halfway line. If he's not playing as a sort of number 10, he's playing on the left-hand side, defending loads. I mean, if I'm Joao Felix, I can't be happy. Is he happy over there, Sid? Is he enjoying his football?
Now, this is a big debate here as well. What happens now with Joao Felix? Now, obviously, look, this season, and I'll go back to what I was saying before about certainly domestically at least, there's been an idea that Atletico Madrid, and I think it's been true, at least domestically, have been a team that wanted more of the ball, have been a team that played a little bit higher up the pitch, and that has suited Joao Felix, and of course that it's suited Luis Suarez as well. And Simeone has talked about taking the team closer to the area because you can't expect Luis Suarez to run into space and to play on the counter-attack. And that seemed to suit Joao Felix and it seemed to suit Luis Suarez. And actually it seemed to suit a handful of other players as well. But we've had, I think, a combination of a couple of things. One is key injuries, which has meant that structure hasn't entirely worked, and I think that's led to doubts in which they've kind of evolved away from that attacking approach. I think there's been the dip in form of Joao Felix himself, so it is partly about him. But I think that has led us to a situation in which, exactly as you're asking, people are looking at this and thinking, does a player like this want to play for this kind of manager in this kind of team? Because it doesn't really suit him. Has he really got the freedom to play where he wants, to float into those positions that he wants to be in? And that is a doubt. One very interesting thing, by the way, after this game is that Simeone talked very, very positively about Joao Felix. He talked about this as the best he'd seen him play, taking responsibility, trying to take the game to Chelsea, which I suppose in the last 20 minutes or so he did. But I think there is that broader question that you rightly ask. And it's a lot of people looking at this and thinking, is this a really good player, just not at the right club?
Sid, just going back to the game, the general consensus yesterday was that Azpilicueta should have got sent off and it should have been a penalty. How much has that been brought up as a way in which could have changed the whole game?
Well, look, there's absolutely no doubt that in the analysis of the game and the result, it could have been decisive. I mean, we just don't know that. But of course, had Atletico Madrid got a penalty at that point, had they scored it, then the complexion of the game almost certainly changes. And yet, I think it's curious, really, because first of all, Simeone didn't want to complain about it. Cocker didn't want to complain about it either. And I think to go back to the very start of what we were talking about, Dan, there's been a kind of a reaction of, well, look, there was a big difference between these two teams. Even if it was only 2-0, even if the second of those goals comes in the 93rd minute, even if with this penalty, who knows, Atletico Madrid might have found a way through, even if maybe if they'd taken one of their chances later in the game, or half chances, that this might have been different and then maybe Simeone would have been a bit more vindicated in the approach, that it was always kind of close-ish in the scoreline, but the feeling of the game, the sense of the analysis of the actual football played, I think most people are so focused on the superiority of Chelsea and the difference between these two sides that even those details which might have been decisive haven't really been, if you like, kind of the central part of the narrative post-game.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.